The Da. The universe is a sphere which may be compared to two halves of a calabash, the edges of which match exactly. The joined line is the line of the horizon. The surface of the earth, which is flat, lies on this horizontal plane. The first sphere is enclosed in another, larger sphere, and between the two are the waters. The smaller sphere is mobile. The little calabash floats in the large one. The waters outside of it are the source of the rains, but within the smaller sphere there are also waters. They form the sea. It surrounds the earth not only on the plane of the horizon, but also beneath it. This is why one finds water if one digs deep into the earth, says Bimupwa, adding, water surrounds the earth, covering the whole surface of the half calabash. The heavenly bodies revolve on the inner surface of the smaller calabash. The process of ordering the world before the creation of man consisted essentially in gathering together the earth, determining the place of the waters, securing the welding together of the whole. The preceding quote explains the world view of the faun. The waters that surround all things are an analogy for the energy that carries creation, the force field in which creation takes place. The faun called this energy field the Da and defined it as a voodoo who incarnates the quality of dynamics in life. It is movement, flexibility, sinuses, fortune. It manifests itself as a serpent, as rainbow, as umbilicus, as plant roots, as the nerves of animal forms, as the gaseous emanations that issue from mountains. It explains how, when an immovable thing like a mountain shows life, it is the Da within that actuates it. Although all nature contains energy from the Da and is considered fundamentally sacred, trees, rivers, mountains, and thunderstones are considered particularly so because of their utility and endurance. In the West African view, both the rock and the human are composed of energy provided by the Da. We can say that the rock has the energy of being, it exists. The plant and animal have instinct, the energy of doing. Humans are favored by the Da. We have existence, instinct, and self-reflective consciousness. This complex is energy on all levels and carries a grave responsibility. This energy can be extracted from and fused into rocks and humans by various ritualistic means. The human is receptive to the energy emanating from the rock, and the rock is responsive to human influence. The nomo. As with all traditional societies, invocation holds an important place in ritual. The nomo, a term used by the Dogon of Mali, the power of the word is a Da. Nomo is water and the glow of fire and seed and word in one. Nomo, the life force, is the fluid as such, a unity of spiritual, physical fluidity giving life to everything, penetrating everything, causing everything. The Nomo awakens all sleeping forces and strengthens weak ones. According to the will of the speaker, words uttered in a particular sequence, rhythm, and tone can bring a rock to action, cause rain to fall, or heal a sick person 100 miles away. When properly played, the drums are also nomo. They send messages to the universal intelligence and receive answers. So all things in the universe have a constant effect on each other. And every event can be interpreted as having spiritual significance. For example, a woman goes to the river to fetch water. Today, she chooses a spot beneath a tree on the riverbank. As she dips her gourd into the water, a branch falls on her head and kills her. The Westerner examines her body and says this woman died due to a blow to the cranium. She lost consciousness and blood as she died. The African says, obviously. But why did this woman fetch water this day? Choose this spot beneath this tree at the time when this tree was ready to drop its branch. The Westerner will put her body in a box and bury it. The African will consult the oracle to determine whether it was truly her time to die or whether this was caused by energy directed toward her. Her children will be called to gather and cleansed by some ritualistic means. Her image and name will take their place on the Ancestor shrine, and the spirit of the tree will be placated. That is, fed and invoked to spare the lives of her family line. Ache. Our departed sister in the preceding example may have been guilty of drawing water from the river too many times without leaving a proper offering. This is an abuse of her personal power, her Ache Yoruba term. Ache passes through us, is used by us, and must be replenished by ritualistic means. Replenishing the Ache is a prime reason for the existence of individual and group rituals and the use of charms. There is a regulated kinship among human, animal, and mineral and vegetable life. Africans do not slaughter animals wholesale, as done with the American buffalo, nor do they devastate the fields that serve them. It is recognized that they have been graced with the personal power to hunt, farm, and eat, but it is also recognized that they must give back that which is given to them. As a result of this view, the dynamic interaction of energy through the use of work, celebration, in music, song, dance, myth, and placation, sacrifice, offering, was the standard mode of worship for early African peoples. The Ebiji. As noted earlier, Mawu and Luisah were born twins. They are an analogy for the bisexual polarity in nature and human nature. Female, moon, night. Male, sun, day. Female, cold, left, intuitive, soul, circle, inspiration, electromagnetism, negative. Male, heat, right, rational, body, square, action, gravity, positive. The sky supports both the sun and the moon. The earth knows both heat and cold. Each person has both a left and a right body side, and each embodies both male and female characteristics. Witness the female lion who was queen of the hunt, or the male seahorse who nurtures his young. The African recognized the Ibije, Yoruba for twins, the concept of duality as a human limitation and perception of the whole. According to our perception and interaction with the forces of nature, everything has both a negative and a positive aspect. Birth is the beginning of physical life, and death is the end of it. But the essential energy of existence, Da, continues beyond physical life. Both life and death simply exist and are used beyond physical life. Both life and death simply exist and are two sides of the same coin of existence. We label things and events good or evil because we need order in our thinking. But in some ways, dangerous is a better word to use when describing that which is undesirable in the African view. Let us take, for example, the Sabsonson of Ghana, who is described as an evil monster. The monster is covered with hair, has large bloodshot eyes, and long legs with feet pointing in both directions. It sits in trees and pounces on unwary hunters. Africans believed in witches as women who performed magical works against their menfolk. And the Cameroons, when divination shows that a man's mother-in-law speaks ill of him, the man is filled with dread because of the dangerous power of the nomo. Typically, the witches were market women who exercised financial independence. In the witch hunts of Africa, these women were made to surrender their magical tools, but were not murdered en masse. Male sorcerers were employed by the people to direct their energy against enemies in warfare. During peacetime, these men were feared. But both the witch and the sorcerer have their positive applications of power. They, like the monsters in the forest, are often acting as a force against other negative forces. The African worldview is realistic and provides a way of dealing with the complexity of life. The fourth work, loving the earth. Ingredients: a mixture of grains, flours, fruit, and vegetable seeds and spices. For example, oats, wheat, rice, millet, corn, mustard seed, peppercorns, apple seeds, pumpkin seeds, black, red, white beans, candula flower seeds, and so on. A glass of water with some of your menstrual blood in it. Older and younger non-menstruating women may prick their fingers with a needle and put a few drops in the glass. A large bowl. All the women stand in a circle. Place the bowl with the seed mixture on the ground in the center of the circle. Each woman takes a handful of seed and breathes warm breath on it. She returns it to the bowl. Each woman pours the glass of water containing her blood into the bowl and stirs the mixture in a spiral. Each woman takes a handful of the mixture and walks from the center outward, distributing the mixture to the earth as she walks. In unison and repeatedly, the women speak to the earth. You may use the following example, but I encourage you to create your own earth reverence statement. After the mixture has been distributed, pick a piece of greenery from the earth and place it in the bowl in the center of the circle. Go inside the home and share a meal. The greenery in the bowl may be used to decorate altars, worn in the hair, or steeped into a tea for bathing. To the earth. Earth, while I am yet alive, it is upon you that I put my trust. Earth, who receives my body, we are addressing you, and you will understand. A prayer for mealtime. O great Mother, who bestows abundance upon us, we thank you for the living things. Name the things that you are eating, that have sacrificed their lives to nourish us. We must take this offering into our bodies that we may be strong. Make us strong, abundant Mother, that we may be able to replenish the earth. Blessing while cooking. All that I have comes from my mother. I give myself over to this pot. My thoughts are on the good, the healing properties of this food. My hands are balanced, I season well. I give myself over to this pot. Life is being given to me. I commit to sharing. I feed others. I feed she who feeds me. I give myself over to this gift. I adorn this table with food. I invite lovers and friends to come share. I thank you for this gift. All that I have comes from my mother. Ancestor reverence. Those who are dead are never gone. They are there in the thickening shadow. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the tree that rustles. They are in the wood that groans. They are in the water that sleeps. They are in the hut. They are in the crowd. The dead are not dead. Those who are dead are never gone. They are in the breast of the woman. They are in the child who is wailing, and in the firebrand that flames. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the fire that is dying. They are in the grasses that weep. They are in the whimpering rocks. They are in the forest. They are in the house. The dead are not dead. Death and reincarnation. Africans believe that those who go before us make us what we are. Accordingly, ancestor reverence holds an important place in the African belief system. Through reverence for them, we recognize our origins and ensure the spiritual and physical continuity of the human race. Obviously, ancestors influence human life through hereditary, physical, and personality traits. But in the African view, they continue to exist and create in the spirit's world. Not only do their continued existence create in the spirit world, but they are with us. Not only does their energy find a home in the wood that groans, but at the proper time and under the right circumstances, they can be reborn. There are a variety of views on spiritual continuity between the living and the living dead. Let's examine briefly the Dahomean view. The Fon people believe that the Se, the soul, has many layers. The core of the Se flows into the Da at death and rejoins the Voodoons, the goddess, nature. The Njoto is a layer of spirit intelligence handed down from the ancestors of the person. Under the right circumstances, it is Joto who has been the guardian spirit of the person in life. In rebirth, Joto blends with the Salido, the peculiar personality traits inherent in the person to be born. Thus, the new person is both Joto, ancestor, and Salido, a new being. The Ye, physical characteristic. The shadow that leaves the body at death also reblends itself with Joto and Salido. Together, these three form a new person who has physical characteristics of the ancestors, Ye, an individual identity, Salido, and a source of inspiration and protection, Joto. Se, who has been revitalized by her stay with the Mother Creator, blends with Kopuli, destiny, and becomes Se Kopuli, the destiny of the newly formed soul in body. Igugun. Igugun or Igun is the Yoruba word used to describe those souls or intelligences who have moved beyond the physical body. The Iguns who are existing at another level within creative energy are treated with loving reverence. They, like the Egyptian ancestors, are given an honorable burial and are provided with the tools they need to conduct meaningful work in the spiritual world. They receive offerings of food. Special dishes are cooked for the ancestors, sometimes elaborate, sometimes simple, depending on the descendant's means. Beautiful songs and undulating dances are done in their honor. They are well spoken of, respected. It is important in African society to remember the names and deeds of one's ancestors. Children are named after them, of course. They hold a place of affection in the hearts of their descendants. Elaborate annual rites are held in their honor, which the whole village attends. People dress up in costumes and reenact the stories of their ancestors using carved masks, special props, and many musical instruments. The ancestors are the subject of African theater. In exchange for this loving reverence, they offer protection, wisdom, and assistance to those who revere them. Are you wincing a little? Does the idea of the living dead scare you? Yes? Then turn off the television set, forget the movies, Night of the Living Dead, Curse of the Undead, and so on ad nauseum. We're not talking about that. Euro-American reveres those who exhibit great merit and famous criminals too. If African ancestor reverence scares you, then you must also fear national holidays such as Washington's birthday, and you must shiver every time you view a performance of the works of William Shakespeare or Lillian Hellman. These safe, honorable practices are merely watered down ancestor reverence rites. Conversely, because the practice is that of reverence, we are not obligated to revere those whose earthly conduct was detrimental to the community. Amongst West African peoples, certain ancestors are not revered, or else measures are taken to reinstate them in a place of honor. For the Igbo of Nigeria, the manner of death and birth is a determining factor. For example, suicides and those who die by drowning are buried near a river. It is believed that the river will cleanse their souls. Those who died in early age or of ill health are called ogobanje, repeaters. They are born over and over again until they earn an honorable death. A set of twins or children born feet first and or with teeth are considered taboo. They are seen as improper reincarnations due to dishonorable deaths. The worst curse that can be held against an Igbo is, may you not be reborn in human form. Those carrying this curse in another life become bush creatures, that is, animals who sometimes take human form. Among the Yoruba, there is a dreaded Agbekyo, a forest spirit who is repeatedly born to a woman, then dies as an infant, is this crib death. This recurrence is done primarily to torture the mother. These spirits are not revered. The Fawn of Dahomey also believed in the Tohuyo, the children of mortals and divine beings. So, if there is a Nazi, slaver, or homicidal maniac in your family line, relax. You do not have to revere them. Later in this chapter, I will discuss the means for deciding who is revered and how they are addressed. Let's take this matter a step further. If you accept the scientific view that humans evolved from apes, then you must ask, where did the first humans appear? If you have spent even a minimal amount of time with the works of anthropologist Louis Leakey, you know the answer is Africa. Now we must seize the opportunity to cleanse ourselves of the dangerous, evil racism. If human life began in Africa, then she must be revered as the mother of humanity. Acceptance and reverence of this fact will stop a lot of insanity. If you are serious about your spirituality, you will see that white women must stand in support of their mother and see black women as their mother sisters. And black women must look beyond the 500-year-old veneer of distorted history and recognize their sister daughters. We are the children of a common womb. In the spiritual sense, everyone on the planet, black and white, female and male, gay, straight and bisexual, and, is kin incarnate. We were not that. We would be kin in spirit on another plane. So take the time now to give racism a dishonorable burial. Let us starve him out, deprive him of his spirit, eradicate his name. Also practice fidelity to the principle of reverence. Look around you. Is your dress made of Japanese silk? Yes, then revere those ancestors. Having cornbread with dinner tonight? Revere those ancestors. Recognize the work of the Native Americans. Is that salsa music playing on your radio? If you just love the stuff, then salute your Latin ancestors. See, we can no longer afford to be tribal. There has already been too much physical and cultural interchange for that. Thank Goddess. What we must do now is turn to Mother Earth and salute her for allowing us to live on her body. We must feed her, sing to her, and regard her and all her creations with loving reverence. For example, I praise the Wind Goddess and the Wright brothers every time I board an airplane. Speaking from experience, I assure you that if you internalize this attitude, you will be rewarded with a feeling of never walking alone. A generic African woman. It may be difficult for women raised in the West to understand the life of the African woman. We only hear the worst about her enforced polygamy, female exorcism, her exile to the bushes of South Africa. It is true that the African woman works hard and fights hard, but she also has a colorful life full of myth, music, ritual, and honor. In order to facilitate an understanding of her inner life, I will now create a generic West African woman. She is based on my knowledge of African culture and the personal experiences that sisters from the motherland have chosen to share with me. I will call this generic woman Ayolode. Ayolode. A cry is heard ringing from the birth hut. Her maternal grandmother runs to deliver the message to the father and the general community. An ancestor has returned to us. Today, a woman child is born. In a moment of privacy, the mother whispers in her daughter's ear a secret name. Only her mother will know and use the name, and only in private. Perhaps her public name will be chosen by her father. He will choose one that tells something about her birth and status. Girl child born on a Monday. She who is born after twins. Or maybe Temilade. The crown is mine. But her mother will always secretly call her Ayolode, after the goddess Oshun. The community will have a great feast today. Neighbors will bring palm wine and yams, brightly dyed cloth and cowrie shells. The drums will sound and the people will dance in honor of her birth. Her mother and grandmother will strut proudly throughout the crowd, bragging that the husband planted fine seed. Maybe a piece of homespun yarn will be tied about her waist, or an amulet placed around her winkle. This is insurance that she will stay on the planet with her kindred. She is not an ibuku. She crawls among the palm and banana trees and watches her family feed their ancestors and pay homage to the forces of nature. When she begins to walk, her stride is influenced by the rhythm of the drums. At an early age, she learns how to handle the snake and plays with it as a European or American child plays with baby dolls. When she begins to talk, she learns a tonal language. The stress and the pitch of her voice is important. She discovers a different accent means a different word. All women the age of her mother are called mother. All men the age of her father are called father. She lives in a matrilineal society and is kin to all the people of her mother's family line. For a while, the new child is practically asexual. She plays with all the children in her compound. Some are the children of her mother's co-wives. Occasionally they squabble and fight, but it will end peacefully. It is taboo to kill your kindred. At night, when the moon is full, they will sit around a fire and listen to the elders tell tales of ancient times. She comes to understand that these tales are designed to explain the world to her. One day, her mother comes to her with a special look in her eyes. The time has come for her rite of passage. Now she is separated from some of the other children, especially the boys. She joins a group of girls, her age grade group. They are taken aside by the older women into a hut built for this purpose. It may even be a distance from the compound to ensure isolation and privacy. The older women wash her in river water and leaves of a certain herb. She receives lectures on reproduction and the ways of women. She must pass a test of some kind, learn to balance a jug on her head, weave a sacred cloth, use a knife, and create a song. At some point, she will face a fear. Only the older women know what this test will be. If she lives in a culture touched by Islamic influence, she may be subjected to the horror of exorcism. If not, she may simply have to endure being scarred. She passes her test. Her mother and grandmother are proud. Now they tie a beaded string around her waist to assure her fertility. Her hair is braided in a particular way, or secrets are placed within the tufts of her hair, and the entire head is covered with a gele. This headcloth is tied with precision. It signifies her status as an honorable member of her age grade group. All the girls tremble a little bit because one day soon, the red rains will come. It is taboo to touch the boys then. It is taboo to do many things. The older women tell her folk tales to explain this thing. She finds that she enjoys being separated from the boys at this time. At other times, she does her drum walk and gestures with her eyes and hands to attract the attention of a certain young warrior. When the time comes, their families will observe many formalities and haggle over dowry or bride price. The intended groom may speak with her mother's brother about marriage. He will be questioned as to his means and intentions, whether his family pays goats, chickens, and gowries, or his family does it. It is nevertheless the basis of an economic foundation to the marriage. On her wedding day, she may be sad. Her grade mates tease her. Now she will have to cover her breast. But they also shower her with gifts. Maybe her mother will parade a bloody sheet throughout the village to prove that her daughter was a worthy bride. Maybe the blood on the sheet belongs to a chicken. Only the mother knows for sure. As a married woman, she is eager to have children, for they are her wealth, and because her children's children will speak her name long after her body has been placed on the funeral pyre. They are her ticket to immortality. She becomes a member of the Women's Secret Society and makes important decisions on women's affairs and the marketplace. If she is Ebo, she is called Omu and sits as a queen crowned in the marketplace. If she is a priestess of Aya Mapo, the goddess of pottery, she sells pottery and dyes in the marketplace and has her own money and need not obey her husband. She must be careful, though, because if her husband should suddenly fall sick, she may be accused of witchcraft. But she knows many secrets and keeps her affairs regulated. She has children of her own and whispers secret names in their ears. If she is Dahomey, she may become a razor-cut woman in the Amazon army and wield a blade with more vigor than the men. If she is in South Africa and the Bantsun, she will raise a gun to fight for her children's freedom. Or she may go to a city patterned after the European cities and become a teacher or a prostitute. If and when her husband takes another wife, she will inquire about the second wife's family and her health. She and her co-wife will each have their own house and sufficient time with the husband. Her husband can divorce her if she is barren. She can divorce him if he is impotent or cruel. Both will strive to be faithful, but each may also have a friend of the opposite sex. In rare cases, she may marry another woman. This is called giving the goat to the buck. In this case, any children born to the woman she marries belong to her and are under her care. When her daughter's son passes his manhood right, he may turn his back to his mother, but not to his grandmother. Perhaps her son will become a ruler and she will be the queen mother. When her husband dies, she will put out the hearth fire, bathe herself, and cover her body in white ash to temporarily disconnect their spirits. When she stops menstruating, she is relieved of the duties of other women and may join the society of elders, the voice of justice. She will grow old and wise in the ways of her people and possibly die peacefully in her hut. Her body will be washed and dressed and skillfully mourned. She will join the ancestors in the spirit world and share palm wine and folk tales with her mother and her mother's mother. The fifth work, reconnecting roots. Make a list of all of your deceased relatives that you can remember by name. Divide the list into mother's people and father's people. Later, this list will be placed on your altar shrine or your ancestor shrine. Write down any stories that you have been told about your deceased relatives. Adopt kindred. Interview an older woman in your community. Write or record one story from her life. Write a story from your life that you would like to be remembered for. Tell a young girl a story about your grandmother. Survey your surroundings. Discern the origin of everything in it. Salute your ancestors who brought it into being. Create a generic woman from a culture other than your own. The fifth work.